Welcome back everyone to another Minecraft building tutorial. If you are looking to take your builds to the next level, then this is the place for you. Let's get started. Walls are pretty boring, but there are ways to make them more interesting, and that is what we are going to be looking at today. For each of the designs that we are going to be looking at today, we will take multiple steps to add increasing levels of detail. And hopefully by the end, you will have some ideas that you can use in your own builds. The first wall design that we are going to be looking at is the simple stone wall. But just because it's been around forever doesn't mean there aren't things that we can do to it to make it more interesting. For example, mixing in some stone bricks adds a little bit of texture to the wall. But if this wall is looking a little bit flat, you can use stairs and walls to add a little bit of variation. Plus, using something like andesite helps to break up the stone texture. Of course, if you think this is still too flat, there's even more that we can do. Adding some columns and archways adds a nice element to the build, which can be further enhanced by switching out the stone blocks for other types, such as wood. In our first example, we have taken a rather simple stone wall and in 4 easy steps, turned it into something that has variation, color, and depth. But what else can we do to make a wall more interesting? Here, we have a deep slate brick wall. Admittedly, not very interesting, but we can do some very interesting things with deep slate. For example, with some black stone bricks and deep slate tiles, we can add a nice little gradient to the wall, which makes the corners and bottom part a little bit darker than the rest of it. Or we can mix in some smooth basalt and mud to add a little bit of variation to the texture of the deep slate bricks. But with these changes, we are still dealing with a relatively flat wall. Instead of adding columns and arches on the exterior of the build, we can cut out the center point and add some different types of blocks to create a pattern and design in the middle. Or we could turn those openings into windows. Another way to make a flat wall interesting is to make some cracks in the wall and then use blocks like a sculpt block or say crying obsidian to highlight where those cracks are located. But what happens when you take a wall like this and need to connect it with the roof or with a different type of wall design? That is where something like this horizontal pattern can come in handy. Not only are you able to use it to introduce a new color to the design, but you can also use it to connect up different types of walls. For example, like this. You can also use a horizontal pattern to disguise the point at which a roof joins up with the wall. So far, we have been looking at how to make a wall look interesting in the center of it or at the top. But what about at the corner? If we have a simple corner like this, it looks okay, but I think there are some things that we could do to make it more interesting. For example, adding in these stairs on the corner helps to break up the straight line that is created by having solid blocks. Another way to break up the straight line is to use full blocks and walls in the corner, and that adds a nice little detail where you have a variation in the size of the block. One way to expand on the design over here is to bump out the corner and then extend the walls and use the glass to go above it. Using the glass helps to hide the fact that the walls are wrapping around the corner and helps to bring in some color as well. So far, the walls that we have been working with have all been in a straight line. But what if we have a wall that is curved? When you have a curved wall, it's already more interesting than a wall that's in a straight line. But that doesn't mean you can't do anything to it to make it more interesting. For example, adding in these walls here in the corners helps to round out the circle even more. Plus, by using different types of blocks for these walls, we are able to introduce some color and variation. And depending on the type of build that you're going for, there are a number of different types of walls that can be used. But having the walls also allows you to add some more subtle details to the design. For example, you can replace the blocks behind the walls with some spruce wood, or concrete, or dark prismarine, or even red sandstone. But I don't think that looks very good. There we go. We have covered a bunch of different types of wall designs, and I hope some of them have given you ideas that you'll be able to use in your own build. But I think that is where we are going to leave it for today. If you enjoyed today's video, please leave a like. If you want to see more, please subscribe. And until next time, see you later.